I would like to be mindful of everyone's time this evening, so I would like to call our work session to order at 5:30 p.m. Mr. Truesdale, could you please call the roll?
Ms. Daniels,
Here.
Ms. Davis,
Present.
Ms. Green, Mr. Jones,
Here.
Ms. Rawls,
Present.
Mr. Rodriguez, Ms. Bowers.
Present. It looks like Vice President Green is present online. I'm not sure if she can hear us, but I did want to note her presence. Yes.
You guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you. Okay, so we don't have a long agenda for this meeting, and many of the resolutions are recurring annual contracts or agreements that the city embarks on annually. So to begin, we'll begin with the committee business of the Administration Committee. We have one resolution for discussion. That's Resolution 78 of 2024. Mr. Truesdale, could you please read it into the record?
Resolution 78, 2024, a resolution authorizing the City of Harrisburg to negotiate and enter into a professional services contract with Steve Zimmerman to provide access and service of the city's historical mainframe, programming operations, and related services in the Bureau of Information Technology.
Thank you. We're joined by Mr. Steve Bordner. Good evening.
Good evening. I'm Steve Bortner, IT Director for the city, and Resolution 78 is a resolution to enter into a personal services agreement between the city and Steve Zimmerman for 2025. It's similar to the agreements we've had in place for many years now. The primary difference between 2024 and 2025 is that the amount is reduced from $135,000 to $120,000. Steve provides a lot of the day-to-day services on the mainframe activities that we perform. He fulfills a lot of the right-to-know requests that we receive from the Law Bureau and other departments, and he's a key resource for any questions that come up about historical data or processes that exist on the mainframe. We work on the migration to the Munis project. So with that brief overview, I'll turn it back to you for any questions.
Thank you. I just have one question, and I think I ask this annually as well. How long do you think that we will continue to contract with Mr. Zimmerman given the migration?
Steve wants to retire eventually again, so I'm hoping that this will be the last one. If not, it will be not much into 2026, but I know he definitely wants to get this over with at some point, so I'm hoping this will be the last time I have to be in front of you with this resolution.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any other questions. I will open the floor to questions from my colleagues. I'll begin with Councilwoman Daniels. Any questions?
No, I already asked. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Davis, any questions?
President Bowers, good evening, Mr. Bordner, and thank you for being here, but I don't have any questions.
Thank you.
Thank you. Vice President Green, any questions?
Thank you very much. I don't have any questions.
Thank you. Councilwoman Rawls, any questions?
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Porter. Thank you for being here. I don't have any questions.
Thank you. Councilman Rodriguez, any questions?
Thank you, Madam President. No questions for me.
Thank you. Councilman Jones, any questions?
We'll keep the trend up. No questions.
Okay. Thank you very much. I move to add Resolution 78 of 2024 to our next legislative session agenda for a vote. This concludes the business of the Administration Committee. Next, we have the Budget and Finance Committee. I will defer to our Budget and Finance Committee Chair, Vice President Green, to lead discussion.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
All right, Mr. Truesdale, could you read the resolution, please?
Resolution 83, 2024, a resolution authorizing the City of Harrisburg to negotiate and enter into a collection agreement with the Harrisburg School District for the collection of the business privilege and mercantile tax and the amusement tax for the 2025 tax year.
Thank you very much. And who do we have from the administration that will be giving us a synopsis?
Yes, good evening, City Council. Mike Hughes, Tax Administrator. As Jared read into record, this particular ordinance, we've been collecting for the school district for 23 years. This will be the 24th year. There's no changes to this year's contract. It's the same as last year. So just a recurring contract, another year. So,
All right.
Yep.
Thank
Sure. Yeah. If you have any questions, I'll surely answer those. Yep.
Thank you very much. I don't have any questions. It's the same contract as we've been doing for several years now. I'll open it up to my colleagues for any questions. I'm going to start to what would be my far left with Councilman Jones.
Thank you, Vice President Green. I concur. No questions.
Thank you. Councilman Rodriguez.
Mr. Hughes, thank you for being here. I have no questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Rawls.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Hughes. Thank you for being here. I don't have any questions either.
Thank you very much. President Bowers.
Thank you. Good evening. I don't have any questions.
Thank you. Councilwoman Davis.
Thank you, Vice President Green. Good evening, Mr. Hughes. I have a question or two.
Okay.
So the City of Harrisburg has been collecting the business and mercantile taxes and was in agreement with the school district in 2001. Is that correct?
I believe that's the first year, yes.
The first year, okay.
And amusement tax also.
And the amusement tax. So this is ongoing every year. Okay, so there aren't any additional fees or any taxes to the citizens for,
Right, other than these two items from the school district that we collect at this point in time, yes, just those two items.
okay, so there aren't any additional taxes or any fees that are gonna come up for the citizens?
Not from this particular ordinance.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Councilwoman Daniels, any questions?
No questions.
Thank you. I don't have any questions. Seeing no other questions, as far as I can see, I'm going to ask this be moved to our next legislative agenda later this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have the Community and Economic Development Committee. I will defer to our Community and Economic Development Chair, Councilwoman Daniels.
Thank you. Mr. Truesdale, can you read Bill 9-2024 into the record, please?
Bill 9, 2024, an ordinance amending Chapter 5-503 Tax Abatement and Exemptions of Title 5 Licensing and Taxation Code to extend the statutory termination date by 1 year to December 31st, 2025.
Thank you. And who's here to speak on behalf of the administration?
Good evening, Council.
Good evening.
I do have a handout. I sent this under separate cover when I sent the legislation up to the Law Bureau, just so you have background information related to the LRTA.
That's the data.
As you know, the LRTA expires.
Sorry. So, yeah, if you don't mind, what I'd like to ask is, one, introduce yourself. If you could just give us a brief summary of just the stats related to LRTA, and if you want to spend some time on a little bit of the history, but I think we're
If
familiar.
I want to what?
If you want to spend a little bit of time on the history, you can. I just don't want to make the meeting run significantly long. So,
I'm Gloria Martin Roberts, Director of Economic Development, Building and Housing for the City of Harrisburg. Jason?
And I am Jason Graves, also part of Economic Development on behalf of the alert administrator.
We're coming before you and asking for a one-year extension on the LRTA. The LRTA expires January 31st of this year. We want time to be able to convene a committee that would involve council as well to talk about the LRTA, whether the LRTA has been as successful as we want it to be over the last 10 years. But we want to bring people together who have invested in the city, people who are developers in the city, council, and some other entities to discuss the school district, Dauphin County, and the city to talk about our LRTA, how effective we think it's been, but how we can improve upon it. So we need a year to just have that meeting to be able to give us some time to come up with a better LRTA program.
So can you give us some stats? How many applications have we received? How many are approved? How many denied? How many are in the middle of it?
Jason?
All right, so this was a breakdown from 2021 to 24, and also I believe it's a breakdown from 15, which would start alert within 14 to current now. So as of now, year to date, this was, I think this data was pulled probably about a month or so ago. We had 426 non-applicants, meaning they would have been eligible for LRTA due to the threshold of what their actual projects were. The county goes off $50,000. So it's between $40,000 to $50,000 per threshold. So this was the eligible amount that could have applied. Those that have had submitted applications through our data through the city of Harrisburg have been 43.
So 426 would have been eligible and 43 who submitted their applications?
That's from 21 to 24.
Okay, and so 43 who submitted applications?
Yes. So right now, total properties from 2015 to 2023, or 66 properties are actually in the actual program from 15 to 23.
You said 53?
66.
60, sorry.
From 15 to, I'm sorry, 53, from 15 to 23, 2015 to 2023.
Okay.
With total abatements around $5.3 million. Recently enrolled from 21 to 24, you have 29 properties with the total abatement of 2.5. And the 27 properties that have 100% abatement, there are 2 properties that are 50%, meaning they are at full commercial.
Any other information?
What other stats would you like to know?
Okay. And so the ones from 2015 going forward, they're completely done with the project?
Yes, they should be. So I didn't pull all those exact dates. I have them actually on another file. So it'd have been very long if I had to put all those dates for each specific one. So this from 2014 is when the actual inception of the LRTA prior to that we're in right now, that's about to sunset on December 31st. This one, I would say there has not, we went over this a few times when we had this conversation with all us before. There needs to be a revised piece, and that's going to have to come between all entities to figure out what's going to be best to actually benefit the city, the county, school district, and also with the city as well. So that's where it's going to be a big play at. So going forward, it's just the marketing piece of it to actually get more developers to come to be more participant in this, have more participation in this, to also get the data as far as like the minority participation and also just the participation period to actually get more builders. So from 21 to 24, right now there are, and I think I'm missing one, you have that have been held, they're maybe on the timeline and looking to get approval, 14 projects right now. And it's not in any specific order. So those are 14 full construction projects, mostly dealing with residential, some dealing with affordable housing. So we need to technically get that number up. So and one thing that's in that number as far as with the 66, it seems it could be high if you put it like in a smaller time frame, but we do a lot of renovations. So there are a lot of people that apply for renovations for LERTA because they meet the threshold over $40,000 to $50,000. So that does not mean it's new construction. So as of right now, from again 21 to 24, we are on schedule. Hopefully, with some of these being on hold, some of them on time, some of them being moved right now is 14 projects that are full brand new construction.
Okay, so currently in the program, how many properties altogether
In the program altogether,
right now?
right now, I would have to get you the exact number for 24 because of how I got the data ran. I did it 3-year and I did it through a 10-year. So that's what the 66 is from 15 to 23, and I have 21 to 24. But I would have to get the exact number out of that 29 for just this year, for 24, if that makes sense. I'll say it again.
Yeah.
So there are 66 total properties from 2015 to 2023. You have 29 properties that are in the program from 21 to 24, which still adds into that 23. I have to get the exact number for the 24.
So
It's just, we did it in a
I just
3-year
want to
and
know
a 10-year
which
frame.
ones are still in the abatement program.
Anything-
So I don't want
Oh,
you to,
no, you're-
I don't,
I get what you're
don't
going.
include the ones that are, their term ended and
So
just the ones that are still kind of active.
the total amount, I would have to get that number too, because some of them are on a partial. Everyone's not a full. So from, usually if you're looking at the 15 they started, it doesn't kick into a year later. So probably about almost 90% of these would probably be up coming this year in 2024 if you go by the time frame of 15. But you have to go from 16, 17, we've applied through that time frame. So I can get you the actual date. I made it kind of short because I didn't want to keep it long-winded. So I just gave you the actual full numbers.
Okay. Okay. Okay, well, I think that's it for me. I'll open up to questioning from my colleagues. I'll start on the far left with Mr. Jones.
Thank you, Councilwoman Daniels. Simple to me. You just asked for extension. No language is changing. Everything is going to remain the same. Just want it from 24 to 25. No further questions.
Thank you. Councilman Rodriguez?
My questions were geared towards how many participants in the LERTA program, and that was answered, so no further questions from me.
Okay. Councilwoman Rawls?
Good evening to you both. Thank you for being here to get more information on the LERTA program and how you would like an extension. I agree that going back and reflecting, I think that's great to see how you can make the program better. I know a lot of residents didn't even know it existed. So to go back and reflect and say, okay, how can we market it different? How can we include all the townships and the district and the county and actually make it profitable for all of us is great, and definitely making more residential homes. I think that's a big thing. A lot of people want to move back into Harrisburg, but they're looking for where am I going to go? So getting more residential space would be great. So thank you.
You're welcome.
No questions from me.
Okay. President Bowers?
Thank you. I don't have any questions. Thank you for the data. I think that's always helpful in reflecting. And I think from a previous meeting, we all know that there's some work to be done here, right, to revise, because what I learned in my role as Building and Housing Committee Chair is many residents didn't understand that the LERTA began when they moved in. Or no, the LERTA began when the building or home was built, not when they moved in. And that was where we had to clarify, and there is a gray area. And then there was some miscommunication between the city and the county as a result. Mm-hmm. So it begins when the home is built, and that's that. So.
Yeah, that's one thing that I did do when I first started. I had to actually set a meeting with the county so we can actually be on the same page. And it's sad to hear him say that Steve Zimmerman wants to retire because that's my buddy. Because he's the one who actually pulls my data for me. So okay. Yeah, so we actually made that connection. So we actually have an ongoing report that goes to them every month. So and it is confusing when it comes to the residents because it doesn't extend.
Nope.
So that's where confusion goes. So when
That's
you
true.
have it, it's set. And then
Yes.
after that time frame over, it's done.
Exactly. So then we had to go back with the county and review. So that would be my only caveat in all of this. But I'm glad to know and that everyone is aware that some revisions should occur. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Vice President Green?
Thank you very much. I don't really have many questions. I look forward to seeing us put work into this program to make it better for the residents. I know this is a program that is in conjunction with the school district and the county as well. Have we spoken to them? Are they on board with extending it a year?
I've spoken with the county. I haven't really spoken with anyone from the school district as far as the what their thoughts on or is it yet, because I know they have a lot of moving around because they got to do superintendent, so they're actually trying to get some other stuff done. But I've actually spoken to a couple people at the county about that. It's just trying to be on the same page to see if it's going to work for all three parties.
Okay. And so we'd be the first entity voting on this if we voted on it tonight.
Yes.
Correct.
All right. I don't have any further questions then. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Davis?
Thank you, Councilwoman Daniels. I don't have any questions. I just want to say that it's always good to revitalize our neighborhood. We're on a good track with that, and so in terms of continuing, I encourage this program, and it's going to promote long-term affordability, so that's always a good thing. Yes, so, for the residents. So thank you. That's it.
Thank you. So for us, in terms of this bill, if it weren't to be renewed, the applicants who are currently in the pipeline, they would be grandfathered in, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So anything that's coming in for this year, that
Okay.
who have applied for this year, yes.
Okay. Does anybody have any other questions or comments? Anything, Ms. Roberts or Mr. Graves, that you'd like to add?
Just that we're going to be looking at everything that's in the current LRTA to make sure we cover, like even minority participation, because we have no data on that right now. So data is a big issue, at least for me, and we want to be able to report accurately how the LRTA really helps all people in our community. So that's one of the issues that we'll be discussing in committee. And President Bowers, I'll be sending you an email asking you to assign whoever you elect to assign to the committee.
Okay, so let's add this to the next legislative session. I will be voting against renewing because there is a lot of work that needs to be done, and we do need a partnerships, and it does need to be revamped. And the economic environment we're in is significantly different from the one we were in 2015. So giving us this time to work a better bill, I think, is more valuable than just simply extending something that's kind of, halfway working, quarter working. And since current applicants wouldn't be adversely affected, I think that's the most appropriate.
The only comment I would have for that, because we do have a couple projects that are actually getting to start progress like soon. So they would affect them as well because they were participating on filling out alerta. So they still have to go through the reporting leads and so forth.
But they would be
plans.
grandfathered in, right?
No,
No.
because that's what I'm saying. There are a few that are actually, one of them is actually in the room right now. So there are a few right now that are actually going to be in the pipeline within the next 3 months. So that would affect them as well because they were anticipating on actually filling out alerta for those programs, for those projects. Those are going to be new construction.
Can Lobbyro give us some clarification here?
Yes, actually, it's the building permit that triggers it. So that's why he's saying they would be affected.
So everything's contingent on the building permit. So they still have to go through what they're doing before they can actually apply for a building permit. So they're up to par.
But right now,
So the ones that are in right now, they're already in construction for this year. but there are going to be several other ones that are going to be coming up within the next probably like first quarter that actually going to be applying for building permits. They are going to be affected by this. They are the ones that were actually like vulnerable about this.
Yeah, but this ordinance would have expired at the end of this year anyway, so anyone who's doing this, I can't imagine was gambling on an extension.
Things get held up because you have some projects that should have probably been started early in the year or may have last year. Things
Right,
get
but what
held
I'm
up.
saying is, if someone is starting a construction project, I don't think they're doing it gambling on a resolution that expires.
Well, not necessarily so. They may not even realize that the LRTA is expiring, some of them, so that's not.
But then that's their oversight, that's not ours.
So if you consider the land development plans the council has approved, there's these batches of them, right? Every private sector one that was approved ahead of COVID, all the ones for the Capitol Heights projects, the ones for the project up on Riley Street projects, the two of them, and others, all of them that are private sector, those plans are approved quite a while ago. Conditions were put on them for things like have your stormwater management stuff done first. They can't come in for a building permit and get the plan signed until all of those steps are done. And so there's lots of things in the pipeline that this council has approved, but they're basically saying if they could not get to a building permit because they're still meeting the conditions of the land development plan before they get a signature, those are the ones that will not be able to move forward. And they designed them originally, I think, for tax abatement in mind. So I'm just giving you a context of what's affected. If you think about the big things you voted on that are sitting there, if they are still trying to get all the ducks in a row to satisfy the land development plan requirements that's approved, they can't apply for a building permit until they have those done and after the plan is filed. So it's sort of a conundrum they're in. They're just sort of stuck there. So there are a lot of them that have been in the pipeline. And it's been tough for the private sector, frankly. I mean, cost of construction went up, cost of wages went up, and and that means the cost of financing went up. So they've been juggling. So whether any of them are done a year from now is a good question, right? At least the smaller ones could be done, but the bigger ones have been in the pipeline for quite a while.
And that was one in particular, the one project on Riley Street, that was stormwater mitigation. Was
Yeah, I
one of the
guess I'm
biggest
just
things
not
as well.
understanding kind of the legal framework. So basically, we've been placed in a position where we would adversely be affecting every single applicant for posterity because we
No.
didn't create a, right? Because this is not the first time we're renewing this resolution. So if we hadn't renewed it the last time.
No, this is the first time you
Is this the
renewed it.
first time?
So
Okay,
it was-
sorry.
it was
Oh,
a-
yeah, it's 2024, sorry.
Yeah, it's a 10-year ordinance. Now, this is the third LRTA that I'm aware of the city's had. The first one fully expired, there was a gap. The second one kind of did not get approved by all three bodies, only the city, and it kind of limped in. And then there's this third one that's going on for 10 years. 10 years is the maximum abatement someone can have, not the maximum length of the ordinance. So, but that abatement starts from when they get an occupancy permit.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is like, so if, let's say there was an oversight and this resolution was not extended.
So I think I think if you're a builder and you've got your money in, what you probably do is you probably wait till till another LRTA is adopted before you come in for your building permit application because the plan isn't what's going to dictate. It's the building permit application that's going to dictate. So I'm saying one way or the other, there's going to be people trying to get the LRTA approved.
Yes, so I think like maybe that's something we need to address too, because like there should be something where a builder can kind of have their rights vested much sooner than.
Well, they're under some time restrictions, and it gets fuzzy because of the conditions on a land development plan. If the conditions are satisfied, then they only have a limited time to have the plan filed in the courthouse, and then a limited time from them to get significant work done on the project. So there are these things, but the stormwater management in particular is probably the most challenging things for some of these places to get in place. And until those are approved and in place, they can't move forward with getting the plan signed and getting a permit.
I mean, I think this goes into the bigger discussion on the bill, but can't we have something where someone can declare their intent to seek abatement, like earlier in the process, attached to maybe the land that they own, so that way there is a vesting so that you know who's grandfathered in or not, because I don't think a developer can have an expectation that an ordinance will just be renewed over and over.
I don't disagree with you. I think it's part of the big picture conversation
Right.
that Ms. Roberts is talking about
Yeah.
that has to come. And they're not, because they came before you earlier, doesn't mean they would be blocked out from another LERTA. But you are not allowed to participate in a LERTA if you've already filed for your building permit, right? So you're so that's the issue when you get there. If there's a gap, you sort of have a gap in incentive for them to keep going, because they originally probably did their calculations based on a LERTA. But we're not here to advocate for them. I'm giving you sort of the context of where it comes from.
So I think, all this means is, I will be voting against it. My colleagues can vote as they see fit. But if it doesn't pass, then all you have to do is work fast on getting the new one up and running, right?
Well, if it doesn't pass, we don't have a LERTA. If we'll have it expires on the 31st.
Right. But it would just be a new resolution, because there's a lot of overhauling that needs to happen anyways.
Yeah, the state law requires if we go from a new one, which you participated in long ago, we have to go through public hearing processes with everybody,
Yeah.
and you get lots of people involved. So,
Yeah.
and I think that's just the design the state has given us to work with.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so that's it. I'd recommend that we add this bill to the next legislative session.
Thank you.
And that concludes the business of community and economic development.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our final committee business for this work session is the Public Safety Committee. I will defer to our Public Safety Committee Chair, Councilman Jones.
Thank you, President Bowers. See, we have Deputy Chief Young and Captain Winder. Can you state your name, your name? Before you do that, Mr. Truesdale, can you read Resolution 79 into the record, please?
Resolution 79, 2024, a resolution authorizing the City of Harrisburg to negotiate and enter into a domestic animal protective services agreement with the Humane Society of Harrisburg area to provide services to the City of Harrisburg's animal control program.
Thank you. All right, a quick synopsis.
We'll try to go quick. Good evening, I'm Deputy Chief Young, Social Security number is 19. No. All right, so this resolution here is for us to enter into agreement with the Humane Society. The differences this year, years past, let me start with this, is the Humane Society in 2024 went underneath new ownership. It's now manned or the ownership is now with the Brandywine Valley SPCA. All right. That happened at the beginning of January this year. So again, this year's previous years we had a 1-year contract. This year they want a 3-year contract. The major differences, not to get into the legal jargon, but the major differences is the cost went up. This year it was $250 per year. That went up to $1,200 per year of the 3-year contract. And they say that the reason for that was the increase was due to staff wages, rising cost of supplies, and inflation. The pricing on animals has gone up. They're proposing a dog and cat fee subject to a 4% annual increase in each of the subsequent 3 years. The fees for the animals that they will be taking, dogs in 2024 was $250. That goes up to $300. Cats in 2024 was $176.50. That increased to $200. And then other domestic animals such as rabbits, ferrets, guinea pigs, iguanas, and other unique and exotic species, 2024 was $51.50. That went to $200 per animal. So that's the gist of the pricing on the contract.
Captain Winder, you have anything?
How about now? Okay. All right, so I'm Captain Winder with the Community Services Division. I will not be giving you my social security number. Long story short, the city has submitted or surrendered a lot of animals to the Humane Society, okay? And the numbers exploded for 2024. Fortunately for us, with the hires of our 2 new animal control officers, Manelli and Mendenhall, they came with other resources that they reached out to for other rescues. So some of the animals have been able to be spread out to these other rescues. But Harrisburg is just unique with the amount of animals that are just running around. For example, when I had them pull the data for when I had them pull the data, thank you. When I had them pull the data on June 2nd, 190 dogs had been taken out to the Humane Society, and 37 cats have been taken out to Humane Society, with a total of, that being a total of 227 animals that got billed. Now, out of that number, they did have some reclaimed animals. Now, what's interesting about the Humane Society with this reclaimed animals thing that they have is that if the animal is not claimed in 3 days, the city is billed for that animal, and the person who owns it can come and pick it up for free. And it's one of those things that, you know, I believe that the city has something in place, but it's something that we're going to have to really look at. The vast majority of animals are not being picked up, but I'm one of those individuals where every penny counts. And I think that that number was roughly about $3,000 that could have been or should have been recouped by the city. So if the animal is picked up within 24 to 48 hours, they won't bill the city. They'll talk to them about some sort of fee for kenneling the animal for that specific amount of time. But the minute that 3-day hits, it's that lump fee that they're charging us with for these animals. For a minute there, they were charging more for pit bulls than other dogs. That was one of the things that was going on as well. But now they're just, you know, they did this flat rate and everything. I will say that over the month, because we had asked for a monthly bill to find out what was going on, and then we are checking it line item per line item with the animals that actually surrendered, because we have a form that we have to fill out and we keep everything documented, which has worked out great because we were able to find just a few things, not a lot. Most of it was very, very accurate, but we were able to find a few things. Well, hold on just 1 second. That's not ours. You know, take that off of our bill. And that's pretty much where I'm at as far as like the Humane Society goes. Now they're asking for this significant increase, right? And we're kind of at their mercy because we don't have any other areas around that we can take these animals to. And I've been talking to my animal control officers about trying to find something else that the city of Harrisburg could benefit from, something that'll help us with this ongoing bill, because you figure year to date, and we're not even done yet, and today they just picked up 4 dogs and took out to Humane Society today alone. Right now, we're just over $51,000. Just over $51,000. That's pretty much what I got.
All right, thank you. My questions will pretty much not be questions, just more of a statement. And I believe that this is a service that our city does need, especially if you're looking at 190 dogs and 37 cats. This is something that we do need. And I think the extension on this should be beneficial in a way, meaning that we don't have to keep coming back every year and doing this. But I do like the notion of finding some alternative sources to handle some of this, especially if we can identify who these animals may belong to, and finding a way for them to be able to carry this bill and not putting it on the, the citizens' back. So,
Well, our animal control officers have been very, very proactive with some of our residents in the city that just aren't the best pet owners, okay? And they've been working with them diligently, teaching them, helping them, trying to groom them. And for the ones that aren't getting it, they've been being held accountable for their actions. I know that recently they had to take 2 very, very aggressive dogs from a homeowner. Unfortunately, those dogs kept getting loose. They wound up killing another dog. It's been one of those things, but they've been very, very proactive. And listen, the city is blessed to have both of them in their hire.
excuse me. That's pretty much it for me. I will be supporting this, so I'll open it up to my colleagues, and if they have any questions. Starting to my immediate right, Councilman Rodriguez.
Thank you, Chair Jones. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us this evening. I'm very familiar being the former chair of the Public Safety Committee, but there is positive news. September 7th of 94 animals, with a great deal of them coming from Harrisburg, were adopted from the Harrisburg ASPCA. So, that could be the best wish. We get them off the street and to a loving family. But Captain Widener, I do remember when there was an allotment per pit bull. So do you feel it would kind of just weigh out even after it's all said and done? Because I remember it was cats, dogs, plus a certain price tag for just pit bulls. But it seems like they kind of lump summed it all up. How do you feel? Do you feel that would, at the end of the day, kind of level out?
I'm hopeful that it's going to level out because we have had certain months where the numbers fluctuated low. And like I said, I give that credit to our animal control officers because they were really out there, boots on the ground, finding out, talking to neighbors, finding out who these owners are and going directly for the owners. And then they were equally aggressive with finding rescues that we could take the animals to. Now, the good thing was that in 2024, they lifted the number of dogs that the city could provide, and that's a good thing, because I believe that number was 100 for pit bulls.
Before they had a limit on the amount of pit bulls that we could take out. They lifted that number with the new ownership, and then I guess there are no kill shelters. So I mean, they do their best to try to get those dogs either back to owners or back to find new homes. They microchip them and things like that, which is very, very beneficial. The animal control officers able to read those chips and at least try to get the dog back where it came from, or hold the owners accountable. So there is that going on.
And we're also in partnership with them. We held a pet vaccination and chipping clinic this year, which was overly successful.
Awesome. Well, thank you, DC Young. Thank you, Captain Widener, and thank you, Chair Jones. No further questions.
Thank you. Councilwoman Ross.
Good evening. Thank you for both of you being here tonight, giving us more information. I just had, maybe it's like a clarification. So if an animal is not picked up, then the city occurs that pay the price that the Humane Society would give for basically keeping them or sheltering them or whatever the
fee, yes.
The fee, right? And if I heard you correctly, you were saying we maybe have something in place where there's penalties. I don't want to call it penalties, but that could be the word, basically, because the owner did not pick them up and we're not enforcing it enough, or we need something in place.
We have something in place. We got to work on it to get it to a point where it's going to work effectively and be enforced. And then we also have to be careful, because our animal control officers are not animal control police officers. So there's only certain things that they can do. So we want to make sure that they stay within their confines until such time as I'm able to maybe
figure something out that
maybe find some training for them to bring them up and elevate them. But for right now, we got to make sure that they stay within in the confines of what they can and cannot do.
Okay. And my question was, and if you know this, if not, maybe you can email it to us, but how many animals were unclaimed where we occurred that price? I know you gave us the 5,100, but I was just wondering, like, what was the number? Oh, 51, oh goodness, I wrote that all wrong, 51,000. I don't think
No,
I thought it.
No, 227. 227 of them were put in. We had 36 that were reclaimed.
Okay.
Yeah, from May, it was 36.
Okay,
We had 36 that were reclaimed, but we still had 227.
that word.
Yeah, that was
Not, and you incurred that cost.
Yes.
And the city did. We did. Okay, thank you. And you probably said that, and the way I was writing the numbers, but thank you. All right, that was it for me.
Thank you, President Bowers.
Good evening. I don't have any questions. Thank you.
All right. Vice President Green.
Thank you very much. I don't have any questions regarding this.
Okay, I was ready to call you Vice President. Councilwoman Davis.
Thank you, Councilman Jones. Okay, so 51,000, that's a big number. Is that how much the city has incurred? I just want to make sure I understand that.
Just over 51,000, yes.
For this year?
No, just up until December 2nd. We just submitted 4 more dogs today. So that was just for those numbers from the beginning of January 1st up until December 2nd. So there's still the rest of this month to go.
Does the city have a registration program, a program where citizens are required to register their pet, making it easier for us, to locate the owner?
I know that the city does have a licensing program. I think that goes through the Office of the Chief, I believe.
Oh, it does, yes. It's the ones, those, we're not too much concerned.
Mercantile.
It's the ones we don't know about. I'm sorry?
I was saying it goes through the Mercantile Department for the licensing. That's for Councilwoman Davis.
So it's the ones we don't know about are the becoming the issues.
So when you say mercantile, you mean the business mercantile? Oh, that covers the animals? Okay, I wasn't aware of that. I pay it, but I just for a property, or business. Okay, so we do have a registration program, but $51,000, that's a lot of money. And that the city has to be responsible for. I don't know what the solution is, but I appreciate what you're trying to do. And so then the $1,200 is for a 3-year contract.
That's an annual fee.
So it's annual. Instead of $250, it's $1,200 now.
They want $1,200 annually with a 4% increase to that and to the fees for the dogs and the cats.
Okay. It is. And the officers, they're very responsive. I've seen them out in the community, but I think this is a huge number for the city to be responsible for. That's it for me. Thank you, Captain Weiner.
Just to let you know, we are doing our absolute best, like I said, to make those connections with other rescues. This number would have been much larger. I want to.
Not for those other resources.
If it wasn't for those other resources, I want to estimate maybe an additional 15 to 20,000. If it wasn't for the work that the animal control officers did with finding some of these rescues to take some of the pit bulls, and it was pit bulls, take some of the pit bulls off of our hands. I think that the ACO Manelli even had a rescue that's closer to where she lives at, so she was able to get some cats actually taken over there too, because that's per cat. I think one of the worst situations we had was they said that they found a cat, and then when they got there, the cat had just had babies. So then you had the cat and 5 kittens, each one with a fee.
No further questions. Thank you.
One of the things I just thinking about this, you know, they have like service, I want to say service animals, is that what you call them? Like to help people out and stuff like that. So maybe we can look at that too. Some of the unclaimed and emotional support and things like that for seniors or whatnot. But then there's also some programs in Camp Hill State Prison where they have inmates actually look after these dogs and stuff like that. So maybe that's something we can look into as well, you know.
So a lot of it's timing. I mean, if we're looking at 3 days and then they start billing us, we could look at it, but I'm not sure the timing is going to happen that quickly.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying it's something like just to start having conversations with them. So, I mean, it's just another added resource where it will, you know, at least not cost us any more money. But I understand Councilwoman Davis's concerns. However, we have nothing else. We need this, so.
And I was thinking also that we could try to recruit more rescues, people who take care of.
I mean, the current ones come with, I mean, the two animal control officers that we have, I mean, they come with a wealth of knowledge. and
Knowledge, yeah.
experience. I mean, they've come from other organizations here. So they're leaning on those organizations for assistance that they can get. And we're going to continue to do that. I mean, there's all these other avenues out there that we can explore. So we're going to continue doing that, and then hopefully that opens up some other avenues for us to try to secure some of those numbers that we're getting.
Good.
Yeah.
Councilwoman Daniels.
Just agreeing with needing to diversify our vendors, but no questions.
Okay. All right, gentlemen, you are excused, and I will ask that this resolution be moved to our next legislative session, and I ask my colleague to support it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We will now open the floor for public comment. Just a few housekeeping notes before we begin. Please state your name and your address for the meeting record. If you don't feel comfortable sharing your address, please share the vicinity in which you live within the city. You will have 4 minutes to share your comments. Mr. Truesdale will serve as our timekeeper, and I will begin to my right. Is there anyone that would like to offer public comment?
Good evening, members of council. My name is Brian Hudson. Address is 4741 Great Oak Lane. Many of you know I used to be the CEO of Pennsylvania Housing Finance Agency. I now do a lot of consulting for market rate and affordable housing in the city. And I'm here to urge the support of the tax abatement, which is Bill 9, 2024. I'm excited by what's happening in the city. There's a lot of economic development going on, and I think this provides incentive to bring developers to Harrisburg, and we have some who are local who are doing some great things here and some coming from out of town. But a one-year extension of this would work and will allow us to craft even more going forward, but this is the most economic development I've seen happening in the city in 20 years, which has me excited because I'm trying to help a lot of these developers to do the right thing, which means not only provide market rate, but home ownership and affordable housing. So I urge your support, and anything I can do to help all of you in your duties, please let me know. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else to my right that would like to offer public comment? Okay, seeing and hearing no one. Anyone in the middle section? Mhm.
Mr. Truesdale, I have a document. I also have this for City Council. And I also have this for City Council. Yes, and I also have this for City Council. Thank you. You okay? Yeah. Okay, thank you. So while Mr. Truesdale, if I may, is handing out the documents, I will announce that I am Sheila Dell Ford. My address is 2033 Bellevue Road, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. I'm here this evening on behalf of the Heinz Menaker Senior Center. This is a follow-up to our discussion of a few weeks ago, and I see Councilman Jones is shaking his head, and maybe we can talk about that. But I would like to begin by stating that I go with the philosophy that we seek first to understand. I heard what the questions were that were presented by council at my last presentation here, and what I have attempted to do is to clarify some of the information, but I also want to point out, most importantly, that we have brought members of the Heinz Menaker Senior Center here with us this evening. We have done this many, many times in the past. We have a diverse range of people because we serve not only Harrisburg, but the region. What you have in front of you is a PowerPoint presentation. You also have a letter from Dauphin County that gives some clarification regarding the status of senior centers in Harrisburg. You will recall Chairman Bowers asked questions about the status of senior centers within Harrisburg, and so we thought we would go directly to the source and get the information. You should note that it mentions Heinz, it mentions B'nai B'rith, and it mentions also Lick Towers. It indicates that Lick Towers is closed, therefore there is no senior center there. There is information about B'nai B'rith that I do not feel that I am that I am in a position, I am not a government official, to discuss, but I think that there should be perhaps some due diligence questions asked about that, but that is not within my purview. I will say that we know that B'nai B'rith does receive lunches twice a week, and I think it's 15 lunches twice a week. But we did take seriously what you said before, and we went out and we did our due diligence. I do also have in front of you the Heinz Menaker Senior Center. We have a brief PowerPoint presentation. Chairman Daniels asked the question about the members of our board, and what you see on the third page in is a statement that indicates who our board members are and what they have done. I would like to point out that you met Mr. Strain. Mr. Lanninga was a 45-year Harrisburg resident, retired Deputy Secretary of Aging, civic volunteer, member of Market Square Presbyterian Church, where he's done a tremendous amount of work around addressing homelessness in the city. Russ Montgomery, 45-year Harrisburg resident, retired Coast Guard, retired Director of Economic Development for DCED, a developer and a civic volunteer, and Mr. Les Ford, who is a non-voting member. Finally, I would like to point out that there were some real questions about, if I may, Ms. Martin Roberts and her status as a board member. I want to clarify for the record that during her tenure as a board member of Heinz Menaker, Ms. Martin Roberts was not employed by the city of Harrisburg. Ms. Martin Roberts is a leader in our community, as are you. She has a wonderful resume of experience. Indeed, when you talk about the disparity study that we reference so frequently, she was the person who was the head, the chairman of the board of Impact Harrisburg when I was executive director at the time that we developed the disparity study. You also know that Ms. Martin Roberts has served as a member and of City Council and as chair, and has served in many other capacities. Just as you, as council members, have the opportunity and indeed the obligation, I would say, when you think that there is a conflict of interest, to talk to your counsel, that would be Mr. Grover. Ms. Martin Roberts has that same obligation and opportunity. My assumption is that any issues of that sort would not be aired in a newspaper, but would be resolved through the process that exists. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the middle section that would like to offer public comment?
Good evening. My name is Les Ford. I live at 2033 Bellevue Road in Harrisburg for much of the week. However, the balance of the week for the last several years, more than 14 actually, has been spent at the Heinz Center at 1824 North 4th Street. I took that job in an emergency situation, and I said I would serve for 6 months. I've been there for 14 years. I'm simply saying this to give you some idea of the seriousness with which I conduct the business of the Heinz Medical Center. I also want to say that I am not particularly comfortable standing at a microphone for 4 minutes. I sought to have an extended period some weeks ago. That was deemed as not appropriate or available to me. So if I tend to go over my 4 minutes, I offered to come and sit at the table and do an in-depth presentation based on some of the innuendo and questions that were floating around reputedly from City Hall. And when I say City Hall, I don't mean council, I don't mean the mayor's office, I mean City Hall, our city governance institution that we as citizens rely on for relief and for succor and for guidance and for wisdom. Having said all that, if any of you have questions, for instance, in terms of what the Heinz Center does, or how it is funded, or how we spend our money, I would suggest you direct them to me. If you will not give me the time in the 4 minutes, then do it privately or invite me to sit at the table during your session. That's my editorial comment. I will finally say in that vein, it was said long ago by Dr. King and some 100 of years before that by a British historian and politician that justice delayed is justice denied. Well, I'm here to say that financing delayed is financing denied. And I have a financial expert right here who will chime in on that. If you do not move this money and it is withdrawn by the federal government, given the federal government, you can explain that to me either offline or I'll sit at the table and you can explain. I'm 78 years old. I'm not going to stand at this microphone and try to absorb all that. Now, if I don't get financing in the next 15 days and the government withdraws that money because it is ARPA money, you pointed that out, I've been painfully aware of that for over 2 years. I've had these same negotiations, same discussions with the county, and they responded. We are well into spending down the ARPA allocation that we had from the county. As a matter of fact, they have given us a hard deadline to submit our invoicing before December 31st, or we will lose the balance. I have not had that opportunity with the city because I have not had the opportunity to get guidance from the city or to have a discussion with the city. So I am here to say that I'm aware that justice delayed is justice denied. I will carry that to the next arena, which is finance. If you don't have financing today, it's going to cost you more to get it tomorrow, and your interest rates are going to be higher. So I would urge City Council, I'm not going to deal with the details, but I'm going to urge City Council to accept my sense of urgency and develop your own sense of urgency about using this federal American Rescue Plan money in a wise way that is best for the city of Harrisburg and it's best for the senior citizens of Harrisburg. Now, with my remaining time, I will say if anyone has any questions about the administration, the funding, or the activities of the senior center, please ask me now. Don't let me go back out and hear that someone said something about something sometime. Say it to me now. Say it to my face.
Thank you, Mr. Ford.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the middle section that would like to offer public comment?
Yeah, I hope you don't plan to leave yet, so I can have a conversation with you guys.
Well, we wanted a conversation. We asked for a conversation. Please come up.
No, we can't have a conversation here.
Come up. Come on up.
I'm saying afterwards.
Come.
This is a worker at the Heinz Center.
Please come up.
You're welcome to offer public comment.
Come on up and offer public comment.
Please tell me your age, please, and how long you've been at the Heinz Center and what you do.
My name is Mildred Watts. I live in 105 Kestrel Court, Hummelstown, Pennsylvania. I work at the center. What I do there, I'm the instructor for. Is it on?
Excuse me 1 second. Can you please? in conversation. We're trying to listen to Ms. Watts. Thank you. Thank you. I'm sorry. I do apologize. If you wouldn't mind starting over. Thank you.
My name is Mildred Watts. I live at 105 Kestrel Court in Hummelstown, Pennsylvania. I work at the Heinz Center. I'm the instructor for the Arts and Crafts Room. We are the people that do the hats for the children that are sent out to the schools for wintertime. I think this year we did 150. We do also headbands. We also do the blankets. We also make blankets for the homeless that then cover up, keep them warm and keep them dry. We also have a bag that they can put all their stuff in that's made from the plastic bags that people are bringing from the store now. We cut them up and crochet them into bags. We also have a painting room that people can come and do, painting, and we can do all types of sewing. Anything you want to learn, you can learn in that room, And we also provide food for people. We come in, a lot of the staff bring in different dishes so they can eat. In the morning we have breakfast. So it's a wonderful place to be. And we're doing some wonderful things at the center. And also we're making baby hats for the hospital, for the preemies. Oh.
Talk about your training. Other people.
Well, people come in and train. There's a church with some people that come to train to learn how to crochet, and now they're doing the hats at the church. So now we're doing these. These are the hats that we make for the children. The smaller ones are for the babies at the hospital, and we take them down there. These are the ones. And a lot of people now have heard about our program, and they're bringing in yarn for us to do. But most of the time, if we need something, we'll just go and get it. Buy it out of our own pockets if it's some specialty we want to do. But this is what we do. Any questions?
No, thank you. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
Is there anyone else in the middle section? Okay.
Good evening, council members and my special niece. It is indeed an honor to be able to speak to you today because on behalf of the Heinz Center.
Excuse me.
I beg your pardon? Oh, my name is Ann Beck, B-E-C-K, and I've been in government for over 40 years. The Heinz Center, at this point, most people in my age group, they go there for activities. We have worked long and hard, and we go there to play cards. Now, I'm not a knitter or a crocheter or whatever it is, but I like to play cards. And it's a good avenue for seniors to go and to conversate with one another. And I enjoy going there. It's not that I have to, but I really enjoy going there and seeing other seniors, such as myself, communicating with one another rather than going to the doctor. And I must say one thing in regard to the Christmas party. Mayor Wanda Williams had a Christmas party. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was so well coordinated, the buses, the wheelchairs, the walkers. I was impressed. And these are type things that I would like to see us as females are doing, being, you council members can understand that we're all having mothers in the age group. And I look forward to it. So I look forward to going to the center playing pinochle. I think I learned to play that. I'm a bridge player. I'm trying to learn this pinochle. But there again, I appreciate the center. I enjoy the center. It's free parking. I'm not so into the meals too much.
We're working on it.
But at any rate, I appreciate all of you, and as a Southerner of Bennett Bell, I take delight in seeing this council I'm just so proud of you. And thank you so very much for listening to me.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the middle section that would like to offer public comment? No? Okay. Seeing and hearing no one. Anyone to my left? Seeing and hearing no one. Oh, I'm sorry, Miss Evelyn. I apologize. I didn't see you back there.
Good evening. My name is Evelyn Hunt, and I live in the 1800 block of State Street. I'm going to sing to the choir. The Heinz Center. The times that I've been there, I felt comfortable in that neighborhood. It's ADA compliant. In the summertime, I'm never too hot. In the wintertime, I'm never too cold. In addition to that, the people have been very friendly there. And older people, such as myself, we need to go out and socialize with people in our own age group. I am a pinochle player. I will play bid whist, but I'm a card player. And I enjoy going to the Heinz Center and going someplace during daylight hours, being able to find a place to park. I also am a quilter. My quilting friends will tell you I'm a topper. I make the tops and then give it to somebody else to quilt it. However, my group, what we did last year, we made hundreds of placemats so their organization could give placemats to the people when they went out for the Meals on Wheels. So when I say I'm singing to the choir, you know they're doing these things, and whatever it takes to make sure that they can continue to do their good work, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to offer public comment before we conclude? Okay, seeing and hearing no one. Did you want to make your comments now or? Okay, Council.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone who came out in support of the Heinz Medicare Senior Center. I appreciate you coming and speaking, and I just wanted to clarify something from my point of view. I can't speak for anybody else or any other council members up here, but I did want to clarify any misconception that you may have had on what I felt about the funding. First of all, you all are, I humble myself to my seasoned community. That's why I like to call it. I don't say you're getting old. That's not, no. You're seasoned very well. I'm going to be at that place at one time in my life, and I want a center to go to, of course, where I can talk with friends and learn how to do things and still be vibrant in my community. So it was never that I didn't think you all deserved funding. That wasn't it. When the ARPA money came, and when we all voted on what kind of programming it could be spent on, which was council's responsibility, one of the pieces were that we definitely felt like there had to be some senior citizen component where senior citizen centers or company, I don't want to say companies, I'm not getting the word right, but places that gave or did things for senior citizen programming were able to go into a pot of money, fill out an application process, go in, and if they got approved, go into that pot of $250,000 and be approved for a certain amount to be able to continue their programming or start their programming. So my concern was, why is it that Heinz Medicare Senior Center was the only center to get the $250,000. They were going to get all of it. So I was concerned about that, and then I was wondering, well, why wasn't there an application process like we had suggested? Because spread the wealth. there could be other agencies who would also, or who also needs money, but how do we know if we don't say, hey, here's this application process. If you are doing work with senior citizens in our community who are so important in our community and are sometimes forgotten and left behind, apply for some of this money. This is one-time money that we get, but it could really help your program and keep it going or make it even better. So I was just concerned on why you all were only getting the money and then it was inside of a bill. I had more concerns. So I don't want anybody from Hines Medicare Senior Center or who go there to think that we don't think you're important and that your center doesn't deserve funding because you do. I just felt like there were other centers that could possibly deserve it too, and wondering why they weren't given a chance to apply. That was my only concern. So I wanted you all to know what was on my heart and how I felt. And I did email and speak to Ms. Delafour about what my concern was. So I just wanted to point that out for myself. So thank you for coming tonight again.
Thank you. The time is 6:46 p.m. I will entertain a motion to adjourn our work session.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I second that.
Thank you. We stand adjourned. We will now move directly into our legislative session.
Madam Chair, may I just help them out?
Sure, that's no problem. The time is 6:46 p.m. I would like to call our legislative session to order. Mr. Truesdale, could you please call the roll?
Ms. Daniels,
Here.
Ms. Davis,
Present.
Ms. Green,
Present.
Mr. Jones,
Here.
Ms. Rawls,
Present, sorry, I was getting a drink of water.
Mr. Rodriguez,
Present.
Ms. Bowers.
Present. Thank you. The invocation this evening will be led by Vice President Green.
Thank you, everyone. If we could just take a moment to think about all those in our area who are unfortunate, especially as we head into our holiday season. All those just need a little more time or just a thought and a prayer. If we could just take a moment of silence for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Green. The Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Councilwoman Rawls.
Can we all please rise? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilwoman Rawls. We do not have any communications this evening. We will now open the floor to courtesy of the floor. The same housekeeping notes remain. Please state your name and your address for the meeting record. If you don't feel comfortable sharing your address, please share the vicinity in which you live within the city. You will have 4 minutes to share your comments. Mr. Truesdale will serve as our timekeeper. I will begin to my right. Is there anyone that would like to offer public comment? Okay, seeing and hearing no one. Anyone in the middle section?
Les Ford, 2033 Bellevue Road, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Just a point of clarification. I do have a sense of urgency. I have a sense of purpose. I have a sense of concern because of the conversations that occur in private, or I get second or third hand information about who said what. That's why I insisted on coming here, and at the risk of offending the timekeeper, trying to establish some clarity around some of this. And one of the issues that came up repeatedly after the last meeting, I believe, was how many senior citizen centers there are in Harrisburg. So rather than deal with second or third hand information, we went directly to the Secretary of Aging for the state. We went directly to the county commissioners, and in particular, George Hartwig, under whose purview the senior centers fall. And they were able to give us definitive information concerning what the county and the state consider to be a senior center versus senior housing versus other organizations that have occasional senior activity. We support the entire expense of running that center. And as things stand right now, and it was out on Ratchet News, so it must be something to be considered, we don't have funding to go beyond December 31st. Rather, I do care what the government does, but I'm telling you as a person responsible for that center, if we don't get some additional funding from somewhere by the 31st of December, we are in no position to continue to operate. And one of the impacts of that is we will have to shut down our availability to community organizations to use that center. That includes churches, that includes civic organization, that includes families and grieving from repasts. We can't pay the bills to keep that center going. We have that entire burden, from the heat to the insurance to the upkeep. That is our burden, and we don't have the money. So rather than go out and have somebody approach me and say, I heard you say it wasn't going to operate past the 31st of this month. And I am telling you that from my point of view, I will offer a resolution to my board, and they have to approve it or not, that reflects that. As of January 1st, we will not have the money to continue to operate the full set of expenses and spectrum of expenses of that center. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the middle section that would like to offer public comment? Seeing and hearing no one. Anyone to my left? Seeing and hearing no one, we will move forward with our meeting agenda. Next, we have the approval of minutes for the legislative session that occurred on November 26th, 2024. Council members, are there any revisions to those minutes? Okay, seeing and hearing none, the minutes stand approved. We will now move to reports of committees. The first report I will deliver on behalf of the Administration Committee on the work session that was held prior to this meeting on December 9th, 2024. On Monday, December 9th, 2024, the Administration Committee met to discuss one resolution. That is Resolution 78 of 2024, a resolution authorizing the City of Harrisburg to negotiate and enter into a professional services contract with Steve Zimmerman to provide access and service of the city's historical mainframe programming operations and related services in the Bureau of Information Technology. Mr. Steve Bortner, Director of the Bureau of Information Technology, was present on behalf of the administration. One question was asked related to the length. How long will we continue to contract with Mr. Zimmerman? Mr. Bortner believes that this will be the final contract. He noted that Mr. Zimmerman assists with day-to-day mainframe operations. He's able to answer any questions related to historical data. And the main difference between last year's contract and this year's contract is the fee. It went from $135,000 to $120,000. This concludes the report of the Administration Committee. I urge my colleagues to support Resolution 78, 2024, as Mr. Zimmerman continues to provide technical assistance to the city as they migrate through a new Munis system. The next committee report you will hear will be shared by Vice President Green on behalf of the Budget and Finance Committee on the work session of December 9th, 2024.
Thank you, President Bowers. During the work session of Monday, December 9th, 2024, the Budget and Finance Committee discussed Resolution 83 of 2024, a resolution authorizing the City of Harrisburg to negotiate and enter into a collection agreement with the Harrisburg School District for the collection of the business privilege and mercantile tax and the amusement tax for the 2025 tax year. Mr. Mike Hughes was here to present on behalf of the administration. I would ask my colleagues to support this resolution. It's something that we've done for the past several years. There haven't been any changes to this resolution. So I just ask my colleagues to support it, and that concludes my report.
Thank you. The next report you will hear will be delivered by Chair Daniels on behalf of the Community and Economic Development Committee on the work session of December 9th, 2024.
Sorry. Hi. Earlier today, the Community and Economic Development Committee met to discuss Bill 9-2024, which contemplates extending the city's LRTA program by an additional year until the city is able to refashion the existing program. Speaking on behalf of the city were Gloria Martin Roberts and Mr. Jason Graves, who presented some information about the LRTA program as it currently exists. As of right now, there are 21 to 24 properties in the program. We also discussed, which applications are grandfathered in, when rights in LRTA vest, and such. I will be voting no on this resolution, but ask council members to make the best decision they can given the information we received during that session. And that's it for my report.
Thank you. The final committee report that you will hear this evening will be shared by Chair Jones on behalf of the Public Safety Committee on the work session of December 9th, 2024.
Thank you, President Bowers. On December 9th, earlier today, the Public Safety Committee held a work session where we discussed Resolution 79 of 2024. The session was about a resolution authorizing the City of Harrisburg to negotiate and enter into a domestic animal protective services agreement with the Humane Society of Harrisburg area to provide services to the City of Harrisburg's animal control program. Present to discuss was Captain Winder and Deputy Chief Young. Excuse me. We discussed where the Humane Society is under new ownership, and instead of a one-year contract, they would like a contract for 3 years at a time. And the only other thing that changed with this resolution was the price that increased due to inflation. Some of the data that was shared, there was about approximately 190 dogs and 37 cats taken to the Humane Society. If some of these animals are not claimed within a 3-day period, the city has to cover that bill. If they are picked up within that time frame, it won't cost the city anything. Some of the questions asked by my colleagues, do you feel that 97 animals being adopted from the City of Harrisburg will balance things out? The captain says he's hopeful in that regard. And another question was posed, which I earlier stated, that if animals aren't picked up, will the city have to foot that bill? The answer is yes. There was also asked that, is there a penalty or a penalty in place for those individuals that do not claim their animals? And yes, there is. And we also shared that there was about approximately 227 unclaimed animals, which resulted in the City of Harrisburg having to pay $51,000. There was also, is there a process about the licensing, registration process? And it was confirmed that there is a licensing process for the animals in the City of Harrisburg. And this would end my report for public safety regarding Resolution 79 of 2024. And I also ask that my colleagues support this resolution for that we don't have any other services to handle these stray animals or animals let loose in the City of Harrisburg. And that ends my report.
Thank you. We do not have any ordinances for first reading. We have an ordinance for amendment. That's Bill 9 of 2024. Mr. Truesdale, could you please read it into the record?
Bill 9, 2024, an ordinance amending Chapter 5-503, Tax Abatement and Exemptions of Title 5, Licensing and Taxation Code, to extend the statutory termination date by 1 year to December 31st, 2025.
Thank you. We have one ordinance for final passage. That's Bill 9 of 2024. Mr. Truesdale, could you please read it again?
Bill 9, 2024, an ordinance amending Chapter 5-503, Tax Abatement and Exemptions of Title 5, Licensing and Taxation Code, to extend the statutory termination date by 1 year to December 31st, 2025.
Thank you. Council members, are there any final questions, comments, or concerns related to Bill 9 of 2024? Okay, seeing and hearing none. Mr. Truesdale, could you please call the vote?
Ms. Daniels?
No.
Ms. Davis?
Yes.
Ms. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yay.
Ms. Rawls?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Ms. Bowers?
Yes.
Bill 9, 2024 passes by a vote of 6 to 1.
Thank you. We will now move to resolutions. The first resolution for consideration this evening is Resolution 78 of 2024. Mr. Truesdale, could you please read it into the record?
Resolution 78, 2024, a resolution authorizing the City of Harrisburg to negotiate and enter into a professional services contract with Steve Zimmerman to provide access and service of the city's historical mainframe programming operations and related services in the Bureau of Information Technology.
Thank you. Council members, are there any final questions, comments, or concerns related to Resolution 78 of 2024? Seeing and hearing none, Mr. Truesdale, could you please call the vote?
Ms. Daniels?
Yes.
Ms. Davis?
Yes.
Ms. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yay.
Ms. Rawls?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Ms. Bowers?
Yes.
Resolution 78, 2024 passes by a vote of 7 to 0.
Thank you. Next, we have Resolution 79 of 2024. Mr. Truesdale, could you please read it into the record?
Resolution 79, 2024, a resolution authorizing the City of Harrisburg to negotiate and enter into a domestic animal protective services agreement with the Humane Society of Harrisburg area to provide services to the City of Harrisburg's animal control program.
Thank you. Council members, are there any final questions, comments, or concerns related to Resolution 79 of 2024? Seeing and hearing none, Mr. Truesdale, could you please call the vote?
Ms. Daniels?
Yes.
Ms. Davis?
Yes.
Ms. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yay.
Ms. Rawls?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Ms. Bowers?
Yes.
Resolution 79, 2024 passes by a vote of 7 to 0.
Thank you. Our final resolution for this evening is Resolution 83 of 2024. Mr. Truesdale, could you please read it into the record?
Resolution 83, 2024, a resolution authorizing the City of Harrisburg to negotiate and enter into a collection agreement with the Harrisburg School District for the collection of the business privilege and mercantile tax and the amusement tax for the 2025 tax year.
Thank you. Council members, are there any final questions, comments, or concerns related to Resolution 83 of 2024? Seeing and hearing none, Mr. Truesdale, could you please call the vote?
Ms. Daniels?
Yes.
Ms. Davis?
Yes.
Ms. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yay.
Ms. Rawls?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Ms. Bowers?
Yes.
Resolution 83, 2024 passes by a vote of 7 to 0.
Thank you. Is there any old business for discussion, council members? Okay, seeing and hearing none. Oh, I'm sorry.
I do have just a reminder that, we do have budget hearings throughout the week. We'll have a budget hearing Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday this week, all starting at 5:30.
Thank you for the reminder. Any other old business? Seeing and hearing none, any new business? Seeing and hearing none, the time is 7:04 p.m. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I second that.
Thank you. We stand adjourned.